श्री नरसिम्हा जय नरसिम्हा जय जय नरसिम्हा श्री नरसिम्हा जय नरसिम्हा जय जय नरसिम्हा प्रहलादेसा जया पद्मा मुख पद्मा भृंगा श्री नरसिम्हा जय नरसिम्हा जय जय नरसिम्हा प्रहलादेसा जया पद्मा मुख पद्मा भृंगा श्री नरसिम्हा जय नरसिम्हा जय जय नरसिम्हा प्रहलादेसा जया पद्मा मुख पद्मा भृंगा तव कर कमल वरे नखाम अद्भुत सिंहा दलित हिरण्यकशिपु तनु भृंगा केशवधृता नरहरि रूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे तव कर कमल वरे नखम अद्भुत श्रृंगा दलित हिरण्यकशिपु तनु भृंगा केशवधृता नरहरि रूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे तव कर कमल वरे नखम अद्भुत सिंहा दलित हिरण्यकशिपु तनु भृंगा देशवधृता नरहरि रूपा जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Bol. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Prahlad Maharaj. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Nitya Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol. Nitya Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
जय राधा पार्थ सारथे राधा पार्थ सारथे राधे। जय ललिता विशाखा जय ललिता विशाखा ललिता विशाखा जय ललिता विशाखा। जय सीताराम लक्ष्मण हनुमान सीताराम लक्ष्मण हनुमान। जय गौरनिताय 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 जय गौरनिताय। जय लक्ष्मी नृसिंह जय प्रहलाद महाराज लक्ष्मी नृसिंह जय प्रहलाद महाराज। जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय प्रभुपाद। जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय प्रभुपाद। निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल गौर हरि बोल। नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांता स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद।
नंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि Go!
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada 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 Srila Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada 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 Srila Prabhupada Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma Shri Guru Charana Padma Keval Bhakati Sadma Vando moe savadhana mate savadhana mate Yahar prasade vai evavata riya jai Yahar prasade vai evavata riya Krishna prapti hai jahan hai te Krishna prapti hai jahan hai te Guru mukha padma vakya chitte te kariya kya Guru mukha padma vakya chitte te kariya kya आर न करी हमने आशा आर न करे हमने आशा श्री गुरु चरणे रते ऐसे उत्तम गते श्री गुरु चरणे रते से उत्तम गति जय प्रसादे पूरे सर्वा आशा जय प्रसादे पूरे सर्वा आशा चक्षुदान दिलो जय जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से चक्षुदान दिलो जय जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशिता दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशिता प्रेम भक्ति यहाँ होते अविद्या विनाश आते प्रेम भक्ति जहाँ होते अविद्या विनाश आते वेद गाय जहाँ चरिता वेद गाय जहाँ चरिता श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु अधम जनार बंधु श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु अधम जनार बंधु लोकनाथ लोकेरा जीवाना लोकनाथ लोकेरा जीवाना श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु अधम जनार बंधु श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु अधम जनार बंधु लोकनाथ लोकेरा जीवाना लोकनाथ लोकेरा जीवाना हा हा प्रभु कर दया दे हमारे पद छाया हा हा प्रभु कर दया दे हमारे पद छाया हा हा प्रभु कर दया दे हमारे पद छाया हा हा प्रभु कर दया दे हमारे पद छाया एवे आजु शुक्र भुवाना एवे आजु शुक्र भुवाना जय प्रभुपादा प्रभुपादा Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Namah Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashata Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Ya buku. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Karo More. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Karo More. तुम बिना के दयालु जगत संसारे। पतित पावन है तू तब अवतारा। मौसम पतिता प्रभु न पाइबे आरा। हाँ हाँ प्रभु नित्यानंद प्रेमानंद सुखी। कृपावलोकन करो आमे बड़ो धोखे। दया करो सीतापति अद्वैत गोसाई। तव कृपा बले पाय चैतन्य निताय। हह स्वरूप सनातन रूप रघुनाथ। भट्ट जुग श्री जीव प्रभु लोकनाथ। दया करो श्री आचार्य प्रभु श्रीनिवास। रामचंद्र संगा मांगे नरोत्तम दासा। रामचंद्र संगा मांगे नरोत्तम दासा। जय गौरनिताय 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 जय गौरनिताय। जय गौरनिताय 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 जय गौरनिताय। जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 प्रभुपाद। जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 प्रभुपाद। निदाई कर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल।
जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्री श्रीमधेश डिवाइन ग्रेस अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की नेत लीला प्रविष्ट इस्कॉन फाउंडराचार्य सेवर ऑफ द होल वर्ल्ड श्रील प्रभुपाद की नामाचार्य हरिदास ठाकुर की प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की श्री श्री राधा पार्थ सारथी ललिता विशाखा गोप गोपिका श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की श्री श्री गौरनिताई की श्री श्री सीताराम लक्ष्मण हनुमान की श्री श्री लक्ष्मी नरसिंह प्रहलाद महाराज की समवेत भक्त वृंद की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की इस्कॉन वर्तमानाचार्य वृंद की श्री पुरुषोत्तम मास महामहोत्सव की गौर प्रेमानंदे ऑल ग्लोरीज द सिंबल डिवोटीज ऑल ग्लोरीज द सिंबल डिवोटीज ऑल ग्लोरीज द सिंबल डिवोटीज ऑल ग्लोरीज टू श्री गुरु एंड गौरंगा। हरे कृष्णा। सब लोग मेरे साथ पढ़ें। हमारे गुरुदेव के चरण कमल ही एकमात्र साधन है जिनके द्वारा हम शुद्ध भक्ति प्राप्त कर सकते हैं। मैं उनके चरण कमलों में अत्यंत भक्ति एवं श्रद्धा पूर्वक नतमस्तक होता हूँ। उनकी कृपा से जीव भौतिक क्लेशों के महासागर को पार कर सकता है तथा कृष्ण की कृपा प्राप्त कर सकता है। मेरी एकमात्र इच्छा है कि उनके मुख कमल से निकले हुए शब्दों द्वारा अपनी चेतना को शुद्ध करूं। उनके चरण कमलों में अनुराग ऐसी सिद्धि है जो समस्त मनोरथों को पूर्ण करती है। वे मेरी बंद आँखों को खोलते हैं तथा मेरे हृदय में दिव्य ज्ञान भरते हैं। जन्म जन्मांतरों में वे मेरे प्रभु हैं। वे प्रेमा भक्ति प्रदान करते हैं और अविद्या का नाश करते हैं। वैदिक शास्त्र उनके चरित्र का गान करते हैं। हे गुरुदेव, हे प्रभुपाद, करुणा सिंधु तथा पतितात्माओं के मित्र, आप सबके गुरु एवं सभी लोगों के जीवन हैं। हे गुरुदेव, हे प्रभुपाद, मुझ पर दया कीजिए तथा मुझे अपने श्री चरणों की छाया प्रदान कीजिए। आप साकन्यस तीनों लोकों में फैला हुआ है। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय।
The child's broken language and movements were very pleasing to Ajamil, who was very attracted to the child. He always took care of the child and enjoyed his activities.
Attached to the child.
Very much attached to the child.
Sabadha hridayastasmin arvake kalavashini nirikshamanastan leelam mumude jarato bhisam. So, this is called material attachment. He is very much attached to the child, but he does not know this will break. this attachment will not endure. When the child is grown up, neither the father will have so much attachment, neither the child. This is called material world. But the same attachment is there in the spiritual world. Just like Mother Jashoda and Maharaj Nanda. He is attached to Krishna. They are also enjoying the same way. But that enjoyment is never broken. That is the difference. This attachment between father and son or mother and son in this material world, it will not stay, it will break today or tomorrow. That is it. Therefore in the Vedanta Sutra it is said, Janmardasya jata, where from this attachment has come, unless originally it is there in the spiritual world. Originally, the same attachment, just like we have got attachment for our country, nation, then attachment between the servant and the master, attachment between friend and friend, attachment between father and son or mother and son, an attachment between husband and wife or the beloved and the lover. These 5 kinds of attachment are there in this material world. Shanta, Dasya, Sakha, Vatsalya, Madhu. So the same attachment is there between Krishna and devotee. Either in the Shanta, some devotees have become their land, water, tree, flower, they are attached to Krishna. Some devotees, they have become servants. They are attached to Krishna. And some devotees, they have become coward's boy, friendly. They are attached to Krishna. And some devotees have become Krishna's father, mother, uncle, elderly. They are attached to Krishna. And some devotees, they have become gopis, young girls, and love Krishna, dance with him, rasa dance. So in this way, Vrindavan means this attachment to Krishna. Central point is Krishna. But the varieties of attachment, they are the same. The only difference is that this attachment centering around Krishna is never broken. If you love Krishna as your child, just like Ajami is loving his youngest child so much. Similarly, if you love Krishna, then it will continue eternally. You will enjoy. It is enjoyment. Ananda. The father is saying that the small child is trying to walk and trying to talk with the father in broken language, and he is observing very minutely and mumu. He was enjoying. So you can have the idea of enjoyment Not idea, everyone has got practical experience. So, if enjoyment continues perpetually, just imagine what is that like. And you are enjoying, but if it is broken halfway, then it is very painful. So if you want this permanent enjoyment, eternal, we are all eternal. We want everything eternally existing. If you want that, then you place your love in Krishna. This is the difference. Krishna consciousness means if you practice here, following the inhabitants of Vrindavan, either as gopi or as cowherd boy or as flowers, trees, butter, Vrindavan is not vacant. It is full of varieties. Without varieties, there is no enjoyment. Variety is the mother of enjoyment. So, the Mayavadi philosophers, Nirvishesha, Sunyavadi, there are philosophers, they are trying to negate these varieties. They are disgusted with the varieties. Everyone is disgusted. The same child, when he grows up, he becomes disobedient to the father and breaks, he goes away. The father is broken-hearted. Oh, I love this child. And he becomes so unfaithful. He has done so much harm and he has gone away. Broken-hearted. Broken. That we will have to experience in the material world. So, the Sunyavadi and the Nirvishesvadi, they want to make these varieties of enjoyment zero. That is called Nibbana philosophy, Buddha philosophy. That these varieties of enjoyment is followed by painful condition. So, you should make this variety zero. Just like sometimes one commits suicide. When these varieties become intolerable, social condition, unbearable, then he commits suicide. So this Sunyavadi, Mayavadi means it is spiritual suicide. Because they have no information of the spiritual varieties. Anadita jasmadangraya. They do not know that these varieties of enjoyment can be executed with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that will endure eternally and we shall enjoy eternally. That they cannot understand. That is the difference between Vaishnava and others. They being disgusted, Brahma Sattva Jagan Mithya, Shankar's philosophy, impersonalist. So take to Brahma the so-called varieties of enjoyment in this material world is mithya, false. You take to Brahma, merge into the Brahma and remain there perpetually. Don't seek after these varieties of enjoyment. But the thing is that we are living entities and Krishna is also the supreme living entity, and both of us, after enjoyment, Because the same quality, we are qualitatively one. As Krishna dances with the gopis, we also try to dance in the ball dance. The same imitation. But the ball dance does not endure. We become frustrated because it is only shadow. The reality is there. The shadow, suppose you love a boy or girl, if it is a shadow, it does not give you actual pleasure. Just like in your country, in the tailor shop, there are so many beautiful women and beautiful men also dressed. But nobody is attracted there because you know it is shadow. It is shadow. There is a very nice, beautiful girl in the window, and you pass on, you are not attracted, you don't see him, because you know it is false. It is not reality. Again, suppose you love one girl, very nice, beautiful, and when she is dead, you are no more attached, because you know it is shadow. Why you are not attached to the same lover or beloved who is dead now? No, he dead. Here is your lover, here is your beloved. Why don't you? No, she is gone or he is gone. Oh, where he is gone? He is lying there. So, when we are attached to the shadow, that is called ignorance, illusion. This is illusion. So here in the material world, we are all engaged in shadow attachment. Therefore it is called illusion. Maya mohita. Daividhyesa. So this is going on, life after life. We are after shadow. Tejo bari mritam, mridanga jatha vinimayo. They, just like in the desert, you'll find exactly a vast water pool, and the animal runs after it is called phantasmagoria, no? Mirage, yes. So, running after it, the shadow is also going ahead, and the animal is also running. So there is no water. He becomes more and more exhausted, then he dies. This is the example. So here in this material world, we are running after the shadow enjoyment. And running. Somebody is exhausted and dies. The Kurmis, they have no knowledge. They have been described as mudhas. They are running after shadow, that's all. And the Jnanis, they understand that this is shadow, mithya. So, shadow means there is reality also. Shadow means without reality, how there can be shadow? So, they are searching after the reality. Brahma Sattva Jagan Mithya. They understand this is shadow. Find out where is water. So, the Jnanis are also in the darkness because they do not know where is water. They simply know that because it is shadow, therefore there must be somewhere the reality. This is Jnani or yogi. And bhakta, they know where is real water. This is the difference. The Kurmis are like animals. They are after shadow water. Running, exhausted and finished. That is Karmi. And Gary, they understand that this is shadow, but there is reality. But they do not know where is that reality. But a devotee knows that this is shadow, but it is shadow of the reality, and they know where is that reality. This is the difference. So, the kingdom of God is not devoid of varieties. There are the real varieties. Therefore, ordinary man cannot understand what is Krishna. They do not understand because they have been described in the Shastra as Abhishuddha Vidhaya. Their core of heart is not yet cleansed. Abhishuddha Vidhaya. Arujya krichena parang padang tata patanti adha. It is said in the Shastra, in the Madhava Murari, that Janneru Vindakha Vimukta Manina. These Gyanis, they are thinking that now we have become liberated because we have learned to distinguish between the shadow and reality. So, but they cannot enjoy reality because they are Sunnavadi, Nirvishesha. They cannot believe that here there is ball dance and there is Krishna dancing with the gopi. It is the same thing. Then how it is reality? This is their misfortune. They cannot judge unless in Krishna there is ball dance. How this ball dance can be shadow? The variety is there. But unless there is reality, how the shadow? We are after shadow. Shadow is not reality. But there must be reality. And if in this shadow there are so many varieties, so why not reality also full of varieties? The poor fund of knowledge of the Mayavadi, they cannot understand it. Because unless in the shadow there are so much varieties, unless there is reality, and in the Vedanta Sutra it is said, Anandamaya Abhyasa, the living entities and the Supreme Being, they are full of enjoyment. Why we are seeking enjoyment? Here in this material, everyone is seeking after enjoyment. But they are seeking after false enjoyment. So this Krishna consciousness movement means to give them idea of real enjoyment. So real enjoyment means that when you are uncontaminated with this material body, spiritual enjoyment. Now we are trying to enjoy with this body. The body is senses. Indrani pararahu. Bodily enjoyment is sense enjoyment. Indrani pararahu, indrabha paramana, manasastu paro buddhi. In this way, we have to understand that this body is false. Therefore, the bodily enjoyment is also false. That they cannot understand. This is their misfortune. Therefore, one who does not understand in the beginning of spiritual life that I am not this body, I am different from body, then his spiritual life begins. Otherwise, cats and dogs and everyone is engaged with this bodily enjoyment. So long we shall be captivated by this bodily enjoyment, we are in the groups of animals, that's all. Jasyatma buddhi punapeti dhatuke sadhik kalatradisu bhauma ijjadhi jatirtha buddhi salilena karhichit janesu abhigni saeva gokar. Animals. The whole world is going on in a way which is animal civilization. So if you want to be happy, you have come to the spiritual platform, reality. That is wanted. Thorough overhauling. They should know perfectly well that we are after false enjoyment. We have to come to the platform of real enjoyment. Somebody is mistaking the real enjoyment, there cannot be any varieties. If there are varieties, then what is the difference between this and that? So, these varieties are different in quality. This is material quality and that is spiritual quality. They have no distinction between matter and spirit. They cannot understand. This is exactly like cats and dogs. So, our this Krishna consciousness movement is not stop your enjoyment, but to bring you in the platform where you can enjoy eternally. That is Krishna consciousness. So if you want false enjoyment, then you remain in this material world, in the darkness. But the Vedas says, tamasi mam jyotirgamam. Don't keep yourself foolishly in darkness. Come to the light. So, in order to come to the light, you have to follow certain restrictions. It's like you are diseased, and if you want to come to be healthy again, then you have to follow some restriction from injunction. A doctor says you don't eat this, you don't do this, you don't do this. That is the way of going to the healthy condition of life. Tapo dibbang jena suddheta satya. So, a person, intelligent person, if he knows that by observing certain rules and regulations prescribed by the physician, if I can become again healthy, so why not do this? This is intelligence. And if you fall victims of this material enjoyment without any idea of spiritual life, then you remain cats and dogs, that's all. But we must always know that the enjoyment as enjoyment is enjoyment, the movements of the child. And the similar enjoyment is there in the spiritual world. Krishna is the child. Krishna never dies, and the father never dies, the mother never dies. Eternally, there is enjoyment. Chintamani prakara sadmasu kalpa vrikkala kya pritesu suravira vipalantam Lakshmi sahasra sata sambrama sevaman govindam adipurusam tamang bhajai. So we have to understand Where is that spiritual world? That is, those who are reading Bhagavad Gita, they will find parastasmastu bhava anya. There is another word. Bhava means nature. Parastasmatu bhava anya bhaktya sanatana. Sanatana means eternal. The living entity is described as sanatana. Mamaivangsa jiva bhuta, jiva loka is sanatana. Sanatana means eternal. And there is another nature which is also described, sanatana. So, when a living entity is constitutionally sanatana, if he wants to go back to that sanatana nature, that is called sanatana dharma. It is called, you have heard the name, sanatana. Sanatana dharma means when the sanatana jeev, living entity, tries to go to back home, that is our real home. Here it is not home. We have taken America as home. How long it is your home, sir? Say 50 years, 100, that's all. Not this kind of. So, that home is eternal. That is called, therefore, sanatana. Bhaktya sanatana. Just means, sarveshu naksas, but means when in the material world everything will be dissolved, annihilated. That it is said that the other nature we are trying to describe in our easy journey to other planet, anti-material. Material and anti-material. So that world, the spiritual world, there is, if you go beyond this covering of the sky, you cannot touch him, the ultimate covering, Brahmaloka. We can see there is a covering around this horizon. There is covering. This covering is covered by same layers. Same earth, water, fire. One layer is 10 times bigger than the other layer. If you can penetrate and go through, then there is the other world, spiritual world. So this is the position. We should be clever enough to understand the constitution of this material world, this material body and the spirit soul, how the spirit soul can be liberated, how the spirit soul can go to the spiritual world and live there eternally. Everything is very nicely described in the Bhagavad Gita. Takta dehang punarjanmanaiti mameti kontya. Everyone can go, but jajinopi janti mam. So our endeavor should be, instead of being attached to this false enjoyment, like cats and dogs, like the animal is running after the false water. The human life is meant for understanding that the animal is running after false water. Why I shall go there? I am not animal. That is human life. If one, like the cats and dogs and deer animal, runs after the false water and he dies, struggle for existence, survival of the fittest, they say, nobody will survive. There is no question. If you take the word in a real sense, the survival of the fittest, one who has understood that he is not this body, his spirit soul, he is fit to survive. Otherwise, bhutta praliyate, you run after this false thing and this body will be finished and again you will have to accept another body and again you will run after bhutta praliyate. This is going on. After false thing. Therefore the Shastra says that this human form of life is not meant for running after this false thing. They must understand what is reality and how to attain that reality. Exactly in the same way. An intelligent man knows that this is my disease condition. How to get on, achieve that healthy condition. Because I am eternal. Na hannati hannamane sarire. So it is possible, even by Ajamil, that is the story we are now trying to understand. Simply, we have to accept the association of realized soul. Then it is possible. There is no hopelessness. Anyone can attain the spiritual perfection. Satang prasangad mo bija sangbiband. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has recommended sadhu sangha sarva shastra koi. Lavamatra sadhu sange sarva siddhi ho. So our aim of life should be how to associate, how to keep association with devotee. Then everything will be possible. And as soon as we give up the association and we associate with Maya, then our life is finished. Always remember this. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was inquired by a devotee, what is the business of a devotee? How he will make progress without any difficulty? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said in 2 lines that asasanga tagi Vaishnava. A Vaishnava should always avoid asat, materialistic person. Always avoid the association. Asasanga. But the matter is asat, not permanent. So those who are attached to the material world, they are called asat. Satan prasanga, one should associate with sat, means those who are in spiritual advancement, they are called sat. And those who are interested in material advancement, they are called asat. The Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advised, don't associate with persons who are trying to be advanced in material way. Asasanga tyagi Vaishnava. And how we can understand this person is materialist? That is stated next line. Asat extretion. Those who are too much attached in sex, they are asat, materially. And Krishna, those who are not devotee of Krishna. That's all. If you can find out these two persons, then we understand who is asat and who is sat. And sat just the opposite. Sat means he is no more interested in material enjoyment. That is sat. And those who are interested in material enjoyment, they are asat. So if we keep our association with persons who are materially interested, then we cannot make progress. If you keep our company always with persons who are spiritually interested, then we make progress. Thank you very much.
Chakshur Umilitam Yana Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So it is the first chapter of the 6th canto of Bhagavatam, text 25, and this chapter narrates about life story of Ajamil, and as we know, as we can understand, Ajamil had 10 sons, and the youngest one was produced, or birth was given to him, to the youngest child, whose name was Narayan. At that time, Ajamila was 88 years old, approximately 88 years old, or maybe he was 88 years old when he was about to leave his body. But anyway, he was quite old. And it is really related with the ending of today's class given by Srila Prabhupada. What is the difference between Sat and Asat? Materialistic people and spiritualists. Those who are materialists, they are very much attached to sex life. And Mohan Rupa Prabhu asked me to conduct a short session. I mean, we can try to analyze the structure of this class, and we can mention some points, and I would ask you some questions. And the first question is here in this verse, in today's verse 6.1.25, the attachment, Ajamila's attachment to his son is described. He was very much pleased to listen these childish sounds that were produced by this small boy. And in the very beginning of this class, Srila Prabhupada, he explains that there are two differences, there are two characteristics or two differences between materialistic attachment and spiritual attachment. So what is the difference between spiritual attachment and materialistic attachment? Who remembers? And do we have a mic? Do we have a mic for our audience or not? Do we have a mic? We have one more mic. What is the difference between materialistic attachment and spiritual attachment? There are at least 2 points that are mentioned in this class. Who remembers? It was in the very beginning.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Materialistic attachments are temporary and can be finished, but spiritual attachment is eternally existing, will exist eternally.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But there is one more. There is one more difference, which is also mentioned here.
Materialistic attachment is based on the sense gratification, and the spiritual attachment is one who wants to advance in devotional service of the Lord.
Yeah, it is almost the same what is given here, what Srila Prabhupada explains. Spiritual attachment related to Krishna,
yes,
and materialistic attachment are related to ourselves. And there is no remembrance of Krishna, zero remembrance. 1 point, it is related to Krishna, spiritual attachment related to Krishna. And the second point, spiritual attachment is eternal. And materialistic attachment is naturally broken after some time. Like, this example is very nice, because this child's broken language, it was giving pleasure to Ajamil, but after some time, this child will not be child anymore. It will be adult person or elderly person, and the movements of a child and sounds of a child really differs from movements and sounds of an old man or of an adult person. The impressions are really different. Okay, so the next point is about Nirvishesha philosophy, Nirvana philosophy, Buddhist philosophy, and what is the reason, what are the psychological circumstances, why people accept this philosophy, why they accept this philosophy, why they become Mayavadis or impersonalists or Nirvana philosophers. Who remembers? It was told on the class.
When the people who are frustrated with the material varieties, they try to enjoy the varieties in this material world, but ultimately they cannot find happiness. So they think that these varieties leads to suffering. So they neglect these varieties. So though they cannot think that there is a varieties in the spiritual world also, and where the happiness is eternal, and we can live eternally there. So ultimately they conclude that everything is void and there is no variety. So that is Mayavada philosophy.
Yeah, exactly. Point number one, they are disgusted with materialistic experience of materialistic attachments. Point number one. Point number two, they have no knowledge of spiritual reality. And because of that, they consider that there is no need to search for this variety, for this enjoyment. And it is better to become dissolved in impersonal Brahman, impersonal Brahmajyoti. Okay, here, one more point regarding this class. Three levels of consciousness are described: karmis, jnanis, and bhaktas, and their conceptions regarding enjoyment. Karmis, jnanis, and bhaktas. So the question is, this enjoyment to which karmis are trying to, are hankering for, this enjoyment, it is compared with what? It is compared with what? Who remembers? There is a comparison, there is an example of this enjoyment which karmis are trying to achieve. So this happiness or this enjoyment is compared with what? And these karmis are compared with whom? There are two examples, two comparisons. Who remembers? Yeah.
It is like running for the water.
Speak louder.
There is a mirage. So
yes.
Karmis are running for the enjoyment, and it is compared with animals. Animal is running behind mirage for the water, and but there is no water.
Yes.
So he runs, and becomes exhausted and dies. So
And
same
dies.
way, karmis also work, and they die like animals.
Yeah. So you see in Bhagavatam, few times karmic people are compared with animals, and some people can feel themselves offended. But well, they can feel themselves offended or they cannot feel themselves offended, but anyway it is reality. It is good comparison. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So here in this class, Srila Prabhupada says, when we are attached to the shadow or to mirage, when we are attached to the shadow, it is called ignorance. Maya mohitam, Maya mohitam. And okay, what do we have here? So you see, I also will be explaining some points because it is not so easy. For some points, it is not so easy to formulate the questions. Not so easy to formulate the questions. But there is one point in this class, that what is the difference between knowledge which have jnanis and knowledge that bhaktas have. The conception of knowledge in case of jnanis is such that our knowledge is to have an ability to distinguish between matter and spirit. If we are able to distinguish between matter and spirit, we are knowledgeable. It is our knowledge. But from the point of view of devotional service of Bhakti Yoga, this knowledge is not complete. Not complete. We can distinguish, and it is also good. For example, in context of devotional service, it is important to distinguish. Anukulyasya sankalpah pratikulyasya varjanam. We should accept what is favorable for spiritual advancement and reject what is unfavorable for spiritual advancement. So this viveka shakti or this ability to distinguish is needed. But the knowledge about anukulyasya sankalpah, about what is favorable for devotional service, this knowledge is also needed. And then if we have this knowledge, then our knowledge is completed, is complete. It is like Srila Prabhupada, he gives this very nice example in Bhagavad Gita. We can have a pot with a honey, and we can lick this pot of a honey on external side. It is one story, but we cannot taste, we cannot experience the taste of this honey. But if we will open, then we can easily experience this taste of honey. So we should open this pot with the honey. Means we should have an access to the knowledge what spiritual reality is. Then the next point is that okay, now I will ask you the question. Srila Prabhupada makes the statement: this Krishna consciousness movement means to give them, means to people, to humanity in large, to give them idea of real enjoyment. So here in this class, Srila Prabhupada, he says that there is one impediment, internal impediment, which makes this real enjoyment inaccessible. There is one particular conception, which conception it is? Who remembers? Likely some of you write notes, you take notes when you listen to the classes. So what is the impediment? Who remembers? Okay, Gopi Baba Prabhu, please.
I'm the body.
I'm body actually. When we have this concept of bodily conception.
Bodily conception.
Then that will stop us to go to the real.
Speak louder.
When we have this concept of bodily, like I'm the body, then we cannot experience the real knowledge.
Yeah. Yes. Because you see, it is the influence of mode of ignorance. When the more person is influenced by lower modes of material nature, the more difficult for him is to understand the Vedic knowledge. He can read books, he can read Srila Prabhupada's books, but this perception will not be proper perception. This message will be really distorted in his consciousness. It is really important to elevate our consciousness on the level of sattva gun, and then go further. So here Srila Prabhupada quotes verse from Bhagavatam, Yasyatma Buddhi Kunapetri Dhatuke, and so on, from the 10th canto of Bhagavatam, where it is said that one is not more intelligent than a cow or goat if he has some particular ideas. For example, if he considers his body to be himself, or if he considers to be his motherland, his eternal home. And all these conceptions of nationalism, the source of these conceptions of nationalism is this conception, bodily conception. And because of this, different conflicts, international conflicts, wars, and so on happens. Because people, they consider themselves to be different. They don't have this spiritual vision. Then, here in this class, Srila Prabhupada, he says that, okay, we have this conception, this bodily conception. What should we do in order to tamasima jyotirgama, in order to come out from darkness to the light? What should we do? Who remembers? What should we do in order to become free from this bodily conception? Who knows or who remembers?
One should associate with realized soul. So
Yeah, that's right.
Sadhu Sang, Sadhu Sang.
Sadhu Sangha, Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastra Koi. Lava Matra, Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi Hoi. That's right. But it was taught at the end of the class. But before that, there are some more statements. Maybe, yeah, yes, please.
We have to perform transcendental austerity. Tapodivyam Putrukaya.
Tapodivyam.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this verse from Rishabhadev's teachings was quoted, 552, Tapodivyam. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes that everyone suffers in this material world, and those who are human beings, they should suffer voluntarily. You remember? They should suffer. Anyway, it is inevitable. We suffer anyway. But if we can do it voluntarily, and if we do it for the pleasure of Krishna, then it makes sense. Then it makes sense. Then the conception of Sanatana is given here, and the same story. There is our eternal home in spiritual world, and there is our very temporary home here. And Srila Prabhupada gives an idea. For example, someone is American citizen, and Srila Prabhupada asks the question, how long it is your home, sir? Say 50 years, 100 years, that's all. So it is really temporary. We know that after each and every exhale from Garbhodakashaya Vishnu's body comes out so many universes, and in these universes are so many planets, and on each and every planet there are so many countries, and so many cities and streets and so on in each and every countries, that really this chance to be born in India again, or to be born in Russia again, or to be born in US again is so small, it is almost zero, because there is such variety. There is such variety. And those who are not conscious of this, they think that reality is what I perceive by my gross material senses. It is my reality, and it will be existing always. So Srila Prabhupada, he explains that, he mentions this conception, Darwin's conception, Darwin, this scientist, Darwin. His conception, survival of the fittest. Survival of the fittest means those who are more strong, those who are stronger, they will survive. Others will perish. Survival of the fittest. So he uses this concept in the context of spiritual life. What does it mean to be fittest in spiritual life? What does it mean? Who remembers? Srila Prabhupada says that this conception, Darwin's conception, also can be used, but it can be used in the context of spiritual life. Survival of the fittest. What is needed to be the fittest?
In a spiritual sense, one who is just spiritually strong, he will definitely return back to Godhead.
What does it mean to be spiritually strong?
Spiritually strong. He is very advanced in devotional service of the Lord. He is always associating with the pure devotees of the Lord.
Okay, very nice. Hare Krishna. I will read what Srila Prabhupada says here, because when he answers on these questions, he comes back to the previous point. If you take the word in a real sense, survival of the fittest, one has understood that he is not this body, he is spiritual soul. Then he is fit to survive. It is the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. We should realize it. Somehow, yena tena prakarena, somehow we should realize it, that we are spiritual souls. Then, it is written here, he is fit to survive, means he will not perish in samsara. He will survive. And then, the last point regarding this class, this famous verse about the importance of sadhu sangha, sarva shastra koi, lavamatra sadhu sangha, sarva siddhi hoi, it was quoted here. And these two categories of living entities, some of them are Sat and some of them are Asat. These two categories are mentioned. So who are Sat and who are Asat? Who remembers? What are the qualities of these two categories?
Hare Krishna Bhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Those who are attached to the material sense enjoyment, they are called asat, and those who are attached to Krishna, they are called sat.
Yeah, you see here at the end of the class, Srila Prabhupada comes to the same point from which he began the class. There are two types of attachments: materialistic attachments and spiritual attachments. It was the very beginning of the class, and here Srila Prabhupada comes back to the same point. Sat and Asat. The main idea is to what are the attachments? What are the attachments of a particular living entity? The last statements of these classes are going like this. So if we keep our association with persons who are materially interested, then we cannot make progress. If you keep our company always with persons who are spiritually interested, then you make progress. In Nectar of Devotion, we have this quote from Hari Bhakti Sudadaya, a very famous quote from Hari Bhakti Sudadaya, where a human being or living entity in general is compared with a crystal. And different objects we can put around this crystal, and these objects will be reflected in this crystal. So if we are surrounded by those who are interested in spiritual life, naturally we will be interested in spiritual life, because our interest to spiritual life will be supported by these people who are around us. So that's why it is important to be in Sadhu Sangha. Please come to temple programs regularly, on morning programs, on evening programs, on different festivities, Janmashtami, Kartika, Appearance Day, Disappearance Day, Avirbhava, Tirobhava. It is very important. And in such way, we reflect the qualities of Vaishnavas who are around us. It will be reflected in our hearts, and we will be progressing spiritually. Hare Krishna.